Can the Kansas State Wildcats topple the big, bad Alabama Crimson Tide in this year's Sugar Bowl? Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let's talk about it. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, and fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz. Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Pull that chair up and let me serve you up this shot of top-shelf college football content, which is today is a breakdown and a preview of the upcoming Allstate Sugar Bowl between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Kansas State Wildcats. The game will be played on Saturday, December the 31st. It will kick off at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and will air on ESPN. It's being played at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Good old Louisiana, baby. Historic home of the Sugar Bowl. The unexpected entrant this year, really two unexpected entrants. Kansas State, I don't think anybody, I did, got to pat myself on the back here a little bit. I did expect Kansas State to compete and possibly win a Big 12 title this year. I told a lot of people that in conversations, may have even said on a few past videos. So I'm not that surprised that they're in this game. But that being said, a lot of people in the country didn't. They did not expect Kansas State to be in this position. And most people didn't expect Alabama to be in this game because most people, including myself, thought Alabama would be in the college football playoff right now. Well, this year they're not. They're on the outside looking in. But what I like about this group of guys at Alabama, they're not opting out. Will Anderson's not opting out. Bryce Young's not opting out. You've got two guys who will likely be first-round draft picks. Bryce Young could be the first pick taken, for that matter. And they're not opting out of this game. It shows how important it is. It shows how motivated they are to win for Nick Saban and for their team, and I love it. So let's break the game down a little bit. First, let's look at the odds and some of the team stats for this game. As you can see here, I'm using the ESPN website here, the matchup predictor. They have Alabama as a 72.9% favorite to win. With Kansas State, they're only giving Kansas State a 27.1% chance to win. Then you go down here to the spread, minus 6.5. Alabama is 6.5-point favorites in this game with the over-under being 56. Then when you look at some team stats here, points per game, Alabama's at 40.8. Kansas State, 33.2. Points allowed per game, Alabama 18, Kansas State 20. So two really good defenses here. Total yards, Alabama 475.5 yards a game. Kansas State putting up 420.2 yards a game. Yards passing, Alabama 278.3. Kansas State 210.5. Yards rushing, Alabama 197.3. Kansas State 209.6. Yards allowed, Alabama's giving up 311.3 a game. Kansas State giving up 365.8 a game. Passing yards allowed, Alabama 186. Kansas State 216.9. Rushing yards allowed, Alabama 125.3. Kansas State 148.9. So really the only category here that Kansas State is better at than Alabama is rushing yards on the offensive side. Alabama's running the ball just under 198 a game, just under 198 a game, where Kansas State is right around 210 a game rushing. So not a huge difference there. About 13 yards a game difference in rushing the ball. With Kansas State, really what you get is a team who's balanced. They're not going to blow you away statistically in any category, but they're a balanced team. They're not bad at anything. They have a great player in Deuce Vaughn, one of the best players in the country that can really do some damage. They've had good quarterback play with Adrian Martinez and now with Will Howard, who's probably, I don't even know if it's arguable, has outplayed Adrian Martinez since coming off from Martinez after Martinez was injured. But the biggest thing about Kansas State, they don't beat themselves. They don't commit a lot of penalties. They don't turn the ball over very often. They've just continued what Bill Snyder started there. They're a good, solid, good fundamental football team. Now, when you've got with Alabama, obviously it's Alabama. They're going to be the most talented team on the field at most positions, maybe every position. They're going to have studs. They're going to have guys. They're going to have 4- and 5-star recruits all over the field on both sides of the football and on special teams. So, in order for Kansas State to win this football game, here's what they're going to have to do. They have to run the football. They have to give the ball to Deuce Vaughn as much as possible. They have to establish a run game, and they have to be successful at it. Because Alabama is probably going to key on Deuce Vaughn and try to stop that run game and try to force Will Howard to beat him. And Will Howard's put up some pretty good numbers this year. He's 101 for 164, 1,423 yards, 15 touchdowns, only 2 picks. Will Howard has played extremely good football, and he's capable of putting up good numbers. But he's never played in a game of this magnitude in his career. So Alabama, Will Anderson, one of the top sack leaders in the country, is going to try to put pressure on Will Howard to make him win the game. They're going to try to shut down Deuce Vaughn, so Kansas State can't let that happen. Kansas State needs to do what Kansas State does and take care of the football. Don't turn it over. You can't give Bryce Young and that powerful Alabama offense extra possessions. They need to protect Will Howard in the pass game when they do drop back to pass. And defensively, I think they need to force Bama to run the ball. I know that sounds crazy and kind of goes outside the norm of what most teams want to do, but I think Alabama is actually better in the pass game than they are the run game, so they need to try to shut down Bryce Young, which they might be able to do. I doubt it. Most teams haven't been able to do it. Kansas State does have really good defensive back play. They're good in the secondary. They've intercepted 16 passes this year, so they can turn you over, and they are good in coverage. But have they played – now, there's some great receivers in the Big 12 they played against, so I think they'll be ready. But have they played a team with this many great athletes across the board? Probably not. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that Alabama passing game. Now, if I'm Alabama, how do I win the game if I'm Alabama? I give Bryce Young time to throw the football on offense, number one, because Bryce Young can just about pick any team apart that he wants to if given enough time. But if I'm Bama, you also want to take some of that pressure off Young and be as balanced as you can. You want to establish the run game as well. And don't beat yourself. Most of the games Alabama have lost, they've only lost 2 games, and in both games they beat themselves a lot of times. They're bad to have a lot of penalties. I know they had just an extremely large amount of penalties in the loss to Tennessee. They have a tendency to turn it over at times in losses. So Alabama has got to take care of the ball and do not shoot themselves in the foot. Do not commit an excessive amount of penalties, Alabama. And also, defensively, they need to stop Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn's not only good in the run game, but he's also good in the pass game. Vaughn's carried the ball for over 1,400 yards this year on 271 carries and has 8 scores. So he also has, like, I think it's 300 or 400 yards in receiving as well. So he can hurt you either way. So Alabama's probably going to key on him, have somebody spying him most of the game, and try to force somebody else on that Kansas State team to beat you. And I personally think that's the right strategy if that's what they do. If they do stop Vaughn, it's going to open up the pass rush for Will Anderson and those guys to try to tee off on Will Howard. And like I said earlier, put pressure on Will Howard, try to force him into making mistakes because this is the first time he's been in a game of this magnitude. Now, score prediction for the game. Who do I think wins it? Like I said earlier, if Alabama takes care of the football and doesn't beat themselves, doesn't commit a lot of penalties, I think they win this game. And I think they win it by 2 scores, 42-28. Look, I'm a Big 12 guy. I'm a West Virginia fan. I love my conference. But at the end of the day, Alabama just has more guys. The fact that there's no opt-outs for this game shows you they're going to be motivated. They want to come out and win this game for Coach Saban and their team. They want to end the season on a positive note. And winning it over a quality Kansas State team would be a way to do that. So I don't think they'll have a letdown game. And that does not bode well for Kansas State. And I think Alabama, sorry, John Kurtz, sorry, Mr. Manbeck, my Kansas State friends out there, I just don't see Kansas State winning this game if Alabama brings their A game, and I think they will. So I think Alabama wins the game 42-28. I think Kansas State keeps it close early, but I think at the end of the day, the Alabama's talent, the Alabama speed, the Alabama size just wins out. Now, Kansas State is very capable of winning this game, but they're going to need Alabama to make some mistakes. And they're going to need Alabama to hopefully have a letdown game, so to speak. But like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Coach Saban will let it happen. So at the end of the day, it's roll tide. Alabama wins 42-28. Let me know, Couz's Corner family, what do you think? Do you think I'm right in my prediction? Leave your score prediction down in the comments section. I want to know who you think wins the game. What do you think keys to victory are for each team? I want to get your thoughts. Guys, I'm excited. I have now started my own website. Couz'sCorner.com, COUZS Corner, COUZSCORNER.com. Got a couple blog posts up there already. You can find my videos on there. You can find some of my audio podcasts on there. Go check out my website, please. It's brand new, so it's still under construction, so to speak. But please go check me out. Support me there as much as you can. I'm excited to have some folks. I'm going to be bringing on some folks to write some blogs for me on there. So we'll have some variety of different content. It won't just all be for me. So stay tuned for that. Also, if you want to support me here financially, you can buy some merch. Check out my merch store. There's photos underneath the comment section here. You'll see photos of some of my merch. Click on any photo that gets you right into the merch store. Buy any product you want. I've got hoodies and beanies to keep you warm in the wintertime. I've got tank tops to cool you off in the summertime. I've got coffee mugs. I've got mouse pads. You name it, I've got it over there. Check out my merch store. You can join Couz's Corner, become a channel member. You can send a one-time donation by using the Heart Thanks option below. You can buy something from Fanatics using the link in the description box. I'll get credit for that. Use that link. It gets you right into the Fanatics website. Search for what you want there. Last but not least, you can support me absolutely 100% free in 4 ways. You can like this video by giving the thumbs up button underneath. You can share it out with your college football loving friends. You can drop that comment below that I mentioned earlier. And last but not least, subscribe. Help me get to 5,000 subscribers. That'll be much appreciated. It only takes a second. It's absolutely free. I really appreciate you tuning in to this channel, to this video, and for supporting me here at Couz's Corner. And until the next episode, Q Country Roads. West Virginia.